Auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. This is Tariq Amin, lecturer, Department of English, Quart, University of Science and Technology, Quhat. Warm welcome to the course of Functional English. The course code for the course is ENG 101. This is the video number 2 of the lecture number 21, and our today's topic is active voice and passive voice. Lecture outlines of today's class include active voice and passive voice rules for present simple tense, present continuous tense, and present perfect tense. After that, we have active voice and passive voice rules for simple past tense, past continuous tense, and past perfect tense. Simple present tense. Okay, before going into the details of simple present tense, rules of conversion for simple present tense, let's revise the previous class. In the previous class, in the previous video, we discussed what is voice, what is active voice, and what is passive voice. We discussed that voice is that form of verb which shows whether what is denoted by the subject does something or has something done to it. So the voice of a verb tells us two things. It shows us two things, that whether what is denoted by the subject does something, whether the subject of a verb is the doer of the action, or is it is performing an action, and it also shows that whether what is denoted by the subject does something or has something done to it. And we discussed active voice and passive voice. We discussed that active voice is that form of verb which shows that the subject of the verb is doing something. For example, Tariq wrote a letter. In this example, this sentence is in the active voice because its form shows that what is denoted by the subject does something. The subject of the verb is doing something. The subject of the verb is the doer of the action. Tariq wrote a letter. So Tariq is the subject, wrote is the verb, and a letter is the object. And verb is in the active voice because it shows that its subject is doing something. It is performing an action. Whereas passive voice is that form of verb which shows that something is done to the subject. Something is done to the subject. For example, a letter was written by Tariq. A letter was written by Tariq. In this example, the form of the verb shows that something is done to the subject of the verb. Okay, let's come to this video. In this video, we are going to discuss some rules, some examples. The very first example is these are sentences in the active voice, simple present tense. These are the sentences in the active voice. In these sentences, these examples are in the passive voice. Okay, let's discuss this structure. This is subject, this is verb. After that, we put SRES, and after that, we put object in simple present tense. In this example, he is subject, lights is verb, and we have put is with the first form of the verb, light, and then the candle is the object in this example. The candle is the object of the verb, lights, and he is subject. He is subject, lights is verb, the candle is object. In the previous video, we also discussed some of the steps of the conversion from active voice into passive voice, where we discussed that the very first step is to identify subject, verb, and object in the active voice sentences. So we identified the subject, verb, and object. We discussed that he is subject, lights is verb, and the candle is object. So we have identified the subject, verb, and object. And after that, the second step was change object into subject. The candle is object. We need to change it into subject, and we can see that we have changed it into the subject. And the third step was put appropriate auxiliary verb or helping verb. So we are going to put is, because is the appropriate helping verb with the subject. The candle is singular, so we need to put is. And after that, the fourth step was put past participle form of the verb. Lighted is the past participle form of the verb light. Light is the first form, and lighted is the third form of the verb, past participle form of the verb. And after that, the fifth step was put by. Put the preposition by. This is by. And after that, change subject into object. He is subject and we have changed it into object. The other example is subject. This is the example of negative sentence. We first of all we put subject, after that we put do or does. With third person singular we put does, and with the rest of the subjects we put do. But with the third form of the verb, with third person singular we put does. And after that we put not, and then first form of verb, and then object. In this example, he is subject. After that, because he is third person singular, he is third person singular, and with third person singular we put does, not do. So we have put does, and after the helping verb do, does, we put not, and we have put not over here. And he does not light the candle. Light is the first form of the verb, and the candle is object. Okay, its passive voice is we change subject into object, or we change object into subject, and after that we put appropriate auxiliary verb. Then after auxiliary verb or helping verb we put not, and third form of the verb and subject. Okay, the candle after that is plus not. Okay, the basic difference between this first sentence and this sentence is that we have put not after the auxiliary, after the helping verb is, we have put not over here in this negative sentence. The rest of the sentence is the same as above sentence. Light is third form of the verb plus by plus him. Present continuous tense. Okay. In present continuous tense, we use ing form of the verb, not past participle form of the verb. We put ing form of the verb. We add ing to the first form of the verb, and it becomes ing form of the verb. Let's see it. Subject after that is mr plus first form of the verb plus ing, then object. Isha, then helping verb plus ing form of the verb, then object. Let's change it into passive voice. We need to change object into subject, then appropriate helping verb plus being. Okay, in present continuous tense, in the passive voice sentences, we put being. We use being after helping verb, being, then third form of the verb plus by plus isha. The example of negative sentence is, first of all we put subject plus is mr plus not plus first form of verb plus ing plus object. So kritika is plus not, then chopping the ing form of the chop plus vegetables. Its passive voice is we just put not and plus being plus third form of the verb. We put third form of the verb plus being. We add being plus third form of the verb, like vegetables plus or, because vegetables is plural, so we put are, not is. And then not plus being. We add being in the passive voice sentences plus third form of the verb by Kritika. Okay, present perfect tense, active voice. In the structure of present perfect tense. Okay, the structure is subject. First of all, we have subject. After that, we put has or have plus third form of the verb plus object. Okay, in the simple present tense and in the simple in the present continuous tense, we use is mr plus is mr, whereas in the present perfect tense we use has or have. And in the simple present tense we use first form of verb, whereas in the present perfect tense we use third form of the verb. And Nitish is subject. We have put has plus challenged. Challenged is the third form of the verb challenge plus her. And its passive voice is she. We have changed object into subject. Her is object, and the passive and the active voice it becomes she. And the passive voice she. After that has plus been. We add been after has, and then third form of the verb plus by plus Nitish. The negative sentence is the same. We just put not after the helping verb has or have. We just put not after has or have. Then we put third form of the verb plus object. And similarly, in the passive voice we put not after has, and we add been. We add been plus third form of the verb plus Radhika. So in the passive voice sentences, we add been. We add been. Okay, past simple tense. This is the structure. Subject plus second form of the verb plus object. Rima is subject. Cleaned is the second form of the verb clean. Clean is the first form of verb, and cleaned is the second form of the verb cleaned. And then the floor. Rima cleaned the floor. Its passive voice would be we change object into subject. The floor becomes subject of the verb cleaned in the passive voice. After that we put was because it is in the past tense. It is in the past tense. After that third form of the verb plus by and then subject. And the example of negative sentence is this point must be noted that in the negative sentences we put did, and after that not. But in the negative sentences we use first form of the verb, not second form of the verb. Over here in the affirmative sentence we have used second form of the verb, whereas in the negative sentences we use first form of the verb, and we use not plus did. Rima plus did plus not plus first form of the verb clean is the first form of verb, and then floor. Okay, its passive voice is the floor plus appropriate helping verb, and after appropriate helping verb we use not, and third form of the verb plus by plus Rima. Past continuous tense. Subject. The structure is subject plus was or were plus ing form of the verb plus object. Okay, it is a bit different from the present continuous tense. In the previous continuous tense the structure was is, am, are, we use is, am, are, whereas in the past continuous tense we use was, were, not is, am, are. We use was, were. So its structure is subject plus was or were plus ing form of the verb plus object. Natika was plus panting, because Natika is singular, so we use was, not were. With plural subjects we use were, and with singular subjects we use was. Was panting the wall. Panting is the ing form of the verb pant. Its passive voice is the wall becomes the subject of the verb panted in the passive voice, and after that since the wall is singular so we put was, not were, and after that since it is continuous tense, past continuous tense, so we add being, and then third form of the verb plus by Nitika. And negative sentence is the structure of negative sentence in the past continuous tense is subject plus was, were plus not plus ing form of the verb plus object. So we just put not after the helping verb was or were. Okay, the difference between active voice, the difference between active sentences in the present continuous tense and past continuous tense is that in past continuous tense we use was, whereas in the present continuous tense we use is, not was. This is just the difference. And the rest of the structure is the same. Like Nitika is not painting the wall, or Nitika was not painting the wall. So we use was in past continuous tense. Okay, the negative, the passive voice is object plus was verb plus not plus being plus third form of the verb plus subject. Okay, the wall plus was, after that not plus being, we add being plus third form of the verb plus Nitika. Past perfect tense. This is the structure: subject plus had plus third form of the verb plus object. Misha plus had plus clean third form of the verb plus the floor. In the sentence in the present perfect tense we use has or have, whereas over here we use had, not has or have. So subject plus had plus third form of the verb plus object. Its passive voice would be subject becomes object becomes the subject of the verb in passive voice. So this is the floor is object, so it becomes subject in the passive voice. And after that we put appropriate auxiliary verb or a helping verb. So we put had, and after that we add been. We add been plus third form of the verb plus by plus Misha. The negative sentence is subject plus had plus not. We just put not after had. And in the negative sentence, in the passive voice, we do the same. We put not after had. And the rest of the sentence, rest of the structure remains the same. Like the parcel had not been received by VD. So the parcel is subject, had, and plus not. So the rest of the structure is the same. Like the floor had not been cleaned by Misha. The floor had not been cleaned by Misha. The parcel had not been received by Vidi. So the structure is the same. We just add not. Okay, thank you for listening to the video. Allah Hafiz. So